My name is Brad Harness, leader of Reform Ontario, and I'm here today to talk to you about smart financial management. The number 2 job of the Ontario government is to ensure that Ontarians' hard-earned tax dollars are managed wisely. This means balancing budgets and paying off the province's debt. It also means tax reform to produce a simpler, fairer tax system understood and supported by all of us. Why balance Ontario's budget, you may ask? Well, just as with your own household budget, the Government of Ontario is far better off staying within its means, not spending money that it doesn't have. The only borrowing government should do is to invest in projects that will both pay for themselves and generate future income for the provincial treasury, such as toll highways, electrical generating stations, for example. Debt. Well, Ontario's debt is approaching $230 billion. That's a lot of zeros, and it's set to double in size before the McGuinty Liberals balance the budget in a few years' time. What's wrong with this state of affairs is that all that borrowed money still has to be paid back, and with interest. Right now, the province is merely paying the interest on that debt to the tune of $1 out of every $10 that they spend annually. Repaying the debt. Reform Ontario has heard what Ontarians have to say on this and shares their view, which is that the debt must be paid off on a scheduled repayment method to free up those $10 billion annually which we waste on interest payments on the ballooning provincial debt. Those dollars would then be turned into the health budget to provide funds Ontarians say are needed in that area of government services. A tax reform. Reform Ontario believes in simplicity wherever possible, in common sense solutions. Our tax environment has become overly complex. I don't think anybody would argue with that. We would begin a program to simplify Ontario's taxes, starting with the phase out over 3 years of the Ontario Healthcare Premium, which is a tax in all but name, saving Ontarians $883 annually. We would also axe the HST. We were the first opposition party in Ontario to come out against the harmonized sales tax when it was introduced. We feel it is nothing more than a tax grab by the McGuinty Liberals. Our view is that the government has sufficient money already. They merely need to manage it better. The HST would be cancelled under a Reform Ontario government, and we would revert back to the GST-PST model until a complete overhaul of Ontario's tax system can be introduced. Now, when we talk about financial management in provincial government, we need to talk about financial scandals. The Liberal government of Dalton McGuinty has wasted millions upon millions of your tax dollars on things such as the e-health records scandal, hiring high-paid consultants to do the work which Ontario public servants are already paid to do. This is just wasting your money. Devising brand new systems for government in the form of electronic patient records when perfectly good ones already were in use at McMaster Hospital in Hamilton and were offered free to the government and were rejected. On top of that, the extravagant spending by the hired guns is no way to operate government, which is supposed to be there for you and me and not lining the pockets of party pals. We need to look also at the Ontario Lottery and Gaming Commission, for example. Another fine example of poor control over provincial revenues. Reform Ontario says it's time to clean up things at the Finance Ministry and all the other ministries, agencies, and crown corporations in Ontario. Why should you care? Because it's your money.